أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنما حرم عليكم الميتة والدم ولحم الخنزير وما أهل به لغير الله. إنما, indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala harrama, He has not made haram. Harrama means to make something haram. So Allah has not made haram. He only made haram. So inna ma, when it comes together, the construction inna and ma, although it means indeed not. Allah has not made haram, meaning Allah has only made haram. Whatever Allah has made haram is this. Innama, indeed, Allah has made haram with regards to meat. Harrama, He has made haram alaykum, upon you. Al-mayta, mayta is dead. Wad-dam, dam is blood. Wa-lahm al-khinzir, and the meat of flesh of swine. What and what? Wama, and what? Uhilla bihi. And I mentioned last week that uhilla is like crying out. So when you cry out about, when you see moon, you say, oh, halal, hilal, hilal, hilal. So based on that, this term and many other things, when they're happy about the slaughter being presented to the idols, so they will shout out, glorifying it, chanting the name of their Lord, their, deities. So that's where the word has come up from. So uhilla bi, in which the name has been hallowed, the name has been dedicated. So what it means, when some animals or some food is being dedicated to the divine according to their standard. The pagans, the idolaters, they would have their deities and they would dedicate this particular animal to them. They either slaughter it at the pedestal, or they would just free them, leave them there in the name of their Lord. So anything which has been sacrificed, anything which has been dedicated to other than Allah. So not Allah, we can do that. We slaughter in the name of Allah. They used to slaughter or they used to dedicate to their deities. This is called wama uhilla bihi li ghayrillah. Something which has been dedicated to other than Allah. You understand that? And the idea is to get nearness. Idea is to get closeness to that individual or that God or whoever they think they are doing it to. Sometimes they're doing it to pious people, prophets, whoever. And obviously that's not permissible. So Allah made it all haram. You can't dedicate anything in order to come close to them, except it has to be for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the first one was mayta. Mayta, dead. So we have covered that last week. Today we talk about blood and others as well. So what is blood? Blood is haram. Blood is najas. You can't consume blood. It is najas as well as it is haram. You can't consume it, and it is outwardly, you can't touch it. Dead person, if it touches you, it doesn't soil your clothes. It doesn't make you impure as such. Touching the dead body does not make you impure. There's no impurity. Okay? So the body itself is not impure. Although the body needs to be washed, that's a different thing. But blood is impure, which is najas, but also haram to consume. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is describing or giving us the instruction about 4 types of animal which we shouldn't be consuming at all. So the blood which is haram, in another narration, it says flowing in another Quranic ayah, damam masfuha. Damam masfuha, Allah says. That the blood that flows in Surah Ma'idah, the blood that is flowing blood. So the flowing blood is haram. Congealed blood is okay. If it becomes clotted and sits there for a long time, so that is why liver and spleen are considered congealed blood. And that's why they can be consumed, but not a flowing blood. So flowing blood is like the blood that runs in the vein. that is not permissible. That is why the fuqaha would say, if you have a wound, the blood is coming out of it. If it stays where it is, it's a small cut during your shaving, small cut during your whatever cleaning, and that stays at the wound site. It doesn't flow from there. It stays on the exit point. And even if it's congealed there, it becomes like clot on top of that. That doesn't nullify your wudu. That doesn't become impure. It is fine. You can leave it there as long as it's not flowing. If it flows from away from the exit point, further down, then that becomes najas. Okay. So that is why it would make the issue very clear. Sometimes people get very, concerned about the blood. While eating the flesh, they found a small amount of blood in the vein, inside the meat. Oh, it wasn't cooked properly. Shall we just? No, you don't have to throw that. That's a congealed blood inside the flesh. That's okay. That's not flowing blood. Okay. Obviously, you don't want to have it. That's a different matter. But with regards to whether it's haram or you committed haram or not, that's not haram. Okay. So likewise, the blood of mosquito, flies, and bed bug is not considered unclean. Why? Because it's not significant. It's just so small, it can't flow. It's just so small, a dot. It stays there. It doesn't flow. It can't flow. As eating or drinking the blood is haram, likewise, external use. Putting on your body. Oh, people do that as a ritual. Some of the pagan religions would do it. That's not permissible. It is impure. It shouldn't be on your clothes. It shouldn't be where you're praying. It shouldn't be in your vicinity. You should try and avoid it. Likewise, the buying and selling from impurity is not permissible. So you can't sell blood. You can't buy blood. It must be donated only if need be. For a medical reason, we come to that in a minute. So everything related to blood would be haram, buying, selling, yeah, as well as consuming and external use. So what about blood transfusion? Technically, should be haram. Because you can't sell blood. You shouldn't be able to. So likewise, how about transfusing it into someone else? Even free. So they say, when the blood is taken out of the body, it becomes impure. It's flowing blood out of the body. It becomes impure. So it behoves that it should be impermissible to give this impurity and inject in someone else. It's impure, isn't it? But the ulama have gone in detail to explain why this is considered to be okay. So the reason for it being impure and not allowed is because there's honor and respect. And if you take any part of human body, this is dishonoring them. You can't take any human bodies, any part, to be consumed or used for any other reason. So the honor is there. And likewise, blood is a major impurity. Najasa ghaliza. So it should be haram. It shouldn't be. So this is the fact that generally, blood, by analogy, if you do qiyas, it shouldn't be permissible to transfuse into someone else. You're putting something najas in someone else. It's like you're injecting them with urine. Can you do that? Obviously not. Everyone would see urine and you can't inject it any other urine. It's impure. So why blood is allowed? Blood shouldn't be allowed for that reason alone. And there's disrespect to the honor of that individual should be that we shouldn't do it. However, there is a lot of similarity to milk. It is akin to milk as well, human milk. And we've seen that the milk becomes part of the individual baby, mother's milk. It is okay and permissible because it is there to nurture, to help the baby grow. It becomes part of the body. Likewise, the blood which you've injected, it doesn't stay in the blood. It becomes part of the body. It becomes your part. You don't reject it because you would reject the antibodies as a blood group matching. And then your body accepts it and it becomes like your part. So there is that similarity. And the second account is, it is a life-saving treatment. And we've seen it with our own eyes within the last 70, 80 years, how much advancement there has been with the transfusion, and it grows. It doesn't harm that individual who is donating the blood. Rather, it is okay, in fact, good to donate it, because then you get new, supply of blood created by the bone marrow. So what happened after every 120 days, all the red cells generally, all of them die. And you get new lots coming up from the bone marrow. All the bone marrows produce that red cells and white cells as well, and platelets. So the blood actually is replaced inside the body anyway, every 120 days roughly. So if you've given the lot that you already have, you've given a lot of them, you get the new replacement, new lots coming up anyway. So you don't get, and we don't take too much of your blood. As a doctors, we only take a pint, and that people can tolerate without much trouble. So based on this, there is permissibility for one reason, which is you're saving someone's life or causing them to get better from the harm that they might get if they didn't have it. So people would die without blood. If they had a big accident and they just keep bleeding, so you have to give them. So major hemorrhage, you need to transfuse them. You do 3, 4, 5, 10, sometimes more transfuse during operation. If you don't replace that, they'll be dead. They can't live without that oxygen. They cannot produce that blood immediately. It would take some hours, some days, few weeks. So during that time, you support that individual. So this is life-threatening. And we know, even if you consider it haram, for life-saving, some individual who is about to die or they're under duress, you can use haram. And we cover that topic separately here as well, a little bit later. So when someone is in desperate need to save their life or their limb or their problem, then number one, as long as there's no alternative available, and this is the only haram thing which is available. Number two, you know for sure that this would help them. This would get them, cured, or it's more likely that it would cure, then you can take it. And there's the incident from Urayna, the tribe that came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they lived in Medina. They were not used to that environment, and they became unwell, and they started getting disease. One of the disease was that they started having a lot of fluid buildup in their stomach. There were liver problem, many other problems. So they had that disease, and they were concerned whether the climate didn't suit them. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam sent them to the stable of camels, asking them to go there, live in that open space outside of Medina, outside in Medina, but outside of Medina, in the outskirts, where the Baitul Mal's camel were being grazed, and they had, there've been many of them there. You go there, live there in the tents, and drink the milk and urine of those camels. Drink that. And they did, and they got better. But then some incident took place with those people, but leave that for the time being, otherwise we'll get completely sidetracked. What they did. But here, just leave it to that. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam offered them to have their cure through the urine and milk of the camel. They were special, tree baths, and these camels were eating and enjoying their, various different shrubs and herbs and plants and trees or whatever they were enjoying in that area. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, obviously through Allah's revelation, was made aware that they will be cured in this, and they got cured. So what the camels were eating and drinking, that has somehow the cure for that illness. As Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in another hadith said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent the cure for every disease that He has sent. So there is a cure, except that we don't know. We have to do some research on. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam knew it from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He asked them to go and do that, and within days they started getting better, and then they become so well that they started being mischievous after that. But anyway, that's topic of other point. So that is blood. Easy to understand. But generally, you can't consume it yet. For transfusion, it is okay. Perfectly fine. Should do it as long as your health, is okay with that. So solid organ. So it's a completely different topic, but we covered this briefly. Ummah generally had a clear stance on this for many, many decades, and even a century since we started transplantation, that it is not permissible to do it. Then, as we moved on, especially in the last 30, 40 years, there's been a lot of advancement, a lot of benefits seen, a lot of life-changing and life-transformation, life-saving transplantations. So for that reason, transplantation itself is a big science that has evolved, and there are a lot of benefits of that. So a group of scholars in the modern time have taken the stance that for any life-saving situation or reducing the stress, if you don't do it, the life would be medically shortened, then you are okay to get the transplantation. Now, if you make that halal, then there is a case for donating the organs voluntarily. Should be there, isn't it? However, there are so many texts from Sunnah of Rasulullah with regards to the honor of the human body and not cutting it even after he died, like the Muslim mutilation being haram, not just once, even in the battlefield, you can't mutilate someone. You cannot take any part. Like blood, we're talking about the honor of human being, the dignity of the human being to take it out of the body. And that is why it is not okay, generally. But we counter-argued it with the fact that it regenerates itself and it's freely accessible and available. We know it doesn't cause any harm to donate. It's small amount. So based on that, blood is okay. But other organs, are you master of that? Are you owner of that? How could you give something that Allah has entrusted you with to someone else? It's like I asked you to look after my car, and when I come back, would you donate it to someone else? How could you donate something that I own, not you? The owner of that. You're not owner of your body. How could you do that? So that is a big problem there. That we are not owner of our body. We don't own it. How can we then pass it on to someone else or give it to someone else? You haven't got the right to do it, even if someone is in need. So someone gave you £5,000 to keep it as safe, and you found someone who's in need, and you start donating it. Can you do it? Obviously not. It's not your wealth. Even if someone is dying, you can do that as a loan that I'll pay back. That's a different thing. Well, you can't do that with the organs. You can't pay it back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm going to give it to you for a day, I will take it back next day. Return it back to you. That is why there are reports to suggest that even if someone has their, part of their body separated from that, chopped off, cut off, you just try and put them together in the grave. So much so that the fuqaha would say even the nails and hairs of individuals should be buried as well. So they all become part of that individual, all get gathered together when they are resurrected. So we don't own any of our body. Yes, something which grows and like hair, like blood, that's fine, because you can give it and it will come back. So it's not, you're not, so you're actually benefiting from that while not causing any harm to that organ which you've already been entrusted with. You still can give it back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in full. Does it make sense? Based on that, there is still a minority now, but still a significant minority of fuqaha and ulama, especially in Southeast Asia, Hanafis generally, they would not say it's okay. They don't even allow you to donate your organ as you do not own it. But if someone needed it and they got it from someone else who donated it, that's his problem. Then you can have it. So you be a recipient, and they say, "Oh, wow, how can you just receive it but not give it?" It's not being selfish here at all, as it sounds. It is not. It is that I can't own it. It's not my part that I can give it to you. But if you were already doing it and sitting there and someone put it in my body, it's fine. But it's not my problem that you donated it. You want to take that risk and you can be answerable on the day of judgment. That's your problem. It doesn't harm me to have it though. So that is why it is. So there'll be a lot of discussion and debates. Mufti Taqi Usmani Sahib, Hafizahullah, obviously you look up to him in all these matters because he has got the level of ijtihad and also the experience and the time, and also that he has spent a lot of experience, and he has been to different parts of the world where he's been interacting with people. So he used to be on the side that we cannot donate it categorically. Now he is in the middle. He said the evidence on both sides, like on this side as well, are growing to the level that I do not know. I can't make even now whether it is permissible or not, because it sounds that it's going both ways. So I am in the middle. He said that I hold my opinion on this. I'm not settled on. I used to be saying that it is impermissible. Now I can't say it's impermissible. And I can't even say it's permissible. I need a little bit more data. And the Mufti normally, when they do ijtihad, they have to have this sharh al-sadr, inshirah of sadr, the openness, the vastness of the chest. You get settled. You get happy with that. You get, I'm fine. This is definitely, that's the answer. This is what Allah would have given the fatwa if we asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If the revelation was coming and we asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the Prophet would have said, yes, it is okay. This is, hand on heart, this is honest and on all honesty, with all the evidence there, I believe. That takes a lot of, time, experience, and whatnot. So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you sharh sadr, then you go ahead with that. So he said that I am now neutral on this. So he's in the middle. So inshallah ta'ala, sooner or later, because part of the reason is this, that many people who get transplanted, not everyone get benefit. A lot of rejection happen as well. A lot of complications happen as well. And many a time, I think kidney transplant is way better than lung transplant, for example. So you cannot say specifically for each organ. Kidney transplant, because there are two kidneys, and the individual who donated it, even as a live donor, it looks like there's much more benefit of that. It is nicely, settled inside your body, no trouble. Lungs, on the other hand, they don't last very long. Heart transplant, not a very good experience so far. So even now, although it's getting better day by day, but still in the a little bit, not early stages, but we're not getting as good results as we have for the kidneys. So I would say let's wait, watch this space. Inshallah, sooner or later, we get these giant fuqaha who are cautious, careful, and not sentimental about the issue. Unfortunately, many people who go and say, oh no, we should be allowing it, are the people who are secularly educated and moderation, live in modernity. And for them, if it saves your life, I don't care whether it violates Sharia so much. Not a problem, because I'm not interested in that. I only want to save the life. And it feels like, you haven't got the balance, unfortunately. So we look up to those fuqaha and ulama who have Sharia at the, at the forefront, and they can never ever go out of their way to violate it. In order, yes, there must be a time when, the benefit definitely outweighs the problems, the issues. In that situation, inshallah ta'ala, fuqaha would say, so we can't rush them, we can't push them. We just make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala open their heart. We make dua, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us a clear instruction and opinion sooner or later, whenever, whichever way. The time being, I normally advise people to not, wait until we get the final results. Inshallah ta'ala. Okay. So that's fine. Normally hair is, okay, grows, so that's okay. Blood grows, hair grows, so that's okay. Now, flesh of swine, khinzir, lahm al-khinzir, that's everything which is part of swine is haram. Okay. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions swine's flesh. Sometimes it may think, okay, only flesh is haram. No, no, no. Because the reason is, swine is not like other prohibited animals, which can be purified by slaughtering. That is the reason. Unlike other animals, if you have a dog, for example, it is impure as well as haram. But if someone slaughtered that animal, they were about to die, and you just slaughtered them, you drain the blood, the body will become not impure anymore. It will be pure, purified. You can purify that. That is why the skin of animals other than pig can be tanned, even if they're like, what you call cheetahs and, lion's skin. If you just tan it, it's pure. You can pray on it. People have those. I don't suggest that we should have that as a prayer mat, but people do have those, like, big polar bears skin. People have, they show off on their, front room or whatever. Not suggesting that completely abhorrent to that idea, but people do that because it becomes purified once you've tanned it. Why? Because the animal was slaughtered. Okay. Or even if it wasn't, then you can do it with certain chemicals and tan it and become purified. Unlike swine, swine can never become purified regardless. So the reason is that the flesh of the swine does not get purified even if the swine is slaughtered, as it is absolutely impure and unlawful. Meaning, if touching that, it will just be, you have to wash your hand. There's some scholars, you can use those hair on his body, long hair, as a sewing thing, as a thread, to sew the leather. It's very tough. So people use it. But some scholars allowed that based on a hadith. And then the fourth one is the consecrated. Yes, according to their books as well. According to their 10 commandments, it's not permissible. So, animal that you dedicate. So there are three possibilities. The slaughtering of an animal to seek the pleasure of anyone other than Allah, and calling the name of that anyone, whoever that is, while slaughtering it. It is by agreement of the fuqaha and ulama, haram. You cannot slaughter any animal on altars or wherever in the name of other than Allah. It's haram, categorically haram. And it will be dead. It's like a dead animal. You can't consume it, impermissible, even sell it. You say, oh, now they've done it, give it to, no, you can't. Extremely important to know this. Not allowed to even give haram bits to anyone else. Saying, oh, since it's haram for me, let me pass it on to someone who doesn't consider it haram. Non-Muslim colleagues. You can't do that. I've got someone gifted you, wine, and then you say, oh, let me pass it on to my next door neighbor who is non-Muslim, and they consume more. You can't pass on the haram thing to anyone, even to your own animal. You can't feed your own animal with that alcohol or that haram food. No, you can't. You can't buy haram food for your kids. Or, I mean, the animal. Not children, I mean the animals. Well, they are more than kids, isn't it? The slaughtering of an animal to seek the pleasure of anyone other than Allah, even if the animal was slaughtered by calling the name of Allah. So he said, Bismillah, in the name of Allah, I'm slaughtering it to please my deity, or my other than Allah, my Imam, my Shaykh, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani, or anyone. I'm doing it to get their closeness, nearness, haram. Even if he said Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and in that, to please that individual, you can't do that. Okay, that's by consensus, haram. This is something a large number of ignorant Muslims do when they slaughter goat and sheep, even chicken, to seek the pleasure of pious predecessors. And they do this by calling the name other than Allah at the time of slaughter. And at the time of, they say Bismillah in the name of Allah, but intention is to please such and such Imam. Shias do it, some Sunnis do it. Not permissible. The fuqaha agree that all such forms are haram, and animal slaughter in this manner is dead animal. It's impure as well. And third form, an animal released, not slaughtered. In this case, just release after cutting off his ear. They used to do that. A small cut in the ear as a sign that this is dedicated in the name of deity. They used to call it different name. Or just brand with something. They would just brand it, a metal rod, burnt it, and then brand that animal. And that animal would be, oh, this is the sign. This is dedicated. You can't even, mount it. You can't benefit from it. This is for the sake of their deity, their idols, walking here and there, enjoying wherever. So this is done to seek the pleasure of an entity other than Allah and to make it an object of reverence paid to the same entity. We have just shown our love and respect to that idol, for example, or human being or whoever. The animal in this case was neither used in its normal function nor intended to be slaughtered. You just leave it. Rather, slaughtering such animal is considered to be, they consider it to be unlawful. It's not unlawful actually. They used to call bahira and Quran, sa'iba, bahira, wasila, things like that. And this is haram to do it. You can't donate and let some animal free for that reason. Camels and goats they used to do. Such animals remain lawful. You can just take it and slaughter and have it, as a gift or whatever, if they allow you. This animal remains under the ownership of that individual. So since you've already dedicated, can I have it? Give it to me as a gift. I can ride this camel. If they don't, then they can sell it. They can gift it to anyone. But that is wrong practice, haram practice. But the meat of that animal, if you slaughter after getting a gift from him with his permission, be okay. You can have barbecue. Selling this animal or giving it as a gift to someone is lawful and to the sign, obviously. Some ignorant Muslims also do think that at shrines or graveyard, leaving a goat or full-grown male domestic fowl in the hand of the keepers who sell these out. They think it's all okay. You can't do that. This is not the way. Those who buy such livestock or poultry from the keepers authorized by the owner, for them, it is perfectly fine. You can then get it and slaughter and eat. So consuming it, this practice is not right. But the person who buys it, for them, it's okay. You can't do such an act anyway. The person who did it, it's a normal dealing, selling and buying. So that's okay. So an-nadhr li ghayrillah. What about the nadhr? Offering for anyone other than Allah. Food or sweet, likewise. So it was just for the meat, but even anything other than meat, same rule. Offered against vows in the name of someone other than Allah by Hindus in their temples. A lot of food sitting there, milk and sweets in the temples. You will find that full of that. And some Muslims do that as well, unfortunately, haram. This kind of nadhr or mannat, we call it, in the name of someone other than Allah has been declared haram because of the commonness of cause. That is because of the intention to seek the favor of the one other than Allah, and which comes under the same prohibition as contemplated in ma uhilla bihi li ghayrillah, to please other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So eating, buying, selling, all of that is haram for those food, that stuff. Okay, remember, the animal that was slaughtered at the temple, at the altar, haram. Buying, selling, everything, that is dead. But someone freed the animal thinking that I've dedicated it to their deity, someone other than Allah. The action is haram, but that meat or that ownership remains. You can sell it afterwards, you can buy it, that owner can do that. That meat would remain okay. Okay, you haven't slaughtered in other than Allah's name. You understand that? And then you would slaughter in the name of Allah, obviously. But sweets likewise, and the dead animal, slaughtered animal. This is haram to buy, sell, or do anything about. Okay, you take it back and then do istighfar and don't do that again. Then it'll be okay. Okay, is that clear to the different types of dedications? Couple more ayat. فَمَنِ اضْطُرَّ غَيْرَ بَاغٍ وَلَا عَادٍ فَلَا إِثْمَ عَلَيْهِ. إِنَّ اللَّهَ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. So, مَنِ اضْطُرَّ. Iztirar, you know the word iztirar. Iztirar means to be under duress, under the hardship. You've been forced to do something, either by the individual or by the situation. You're stuck. You had no choice. So you have been forced to do something. You've been made to do something. That could be poverty, which led you to be starving for many, many days. It could be the disease. So if you are in that situation, then you consume any of those haram. Without being willfully disobedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You don't become you're not going against Allah's command because you want to rebel against Him. You're not rebellious. Neither are you going to the excesses, which mean that when someone is in desperate situation and they would die, should they not have that morsel of haram food, a dead meat, or the liquid, even alcohol, sitting there, and you say, I haven't got water for 2 days, 3 days, or 1 day, and I'm thirsty, I may die. And that's the only liquid left, which is alcohol, which is whatever, unclean water, impure water. You can drink it, and you should drink it actually, to save your life, but to the amount that you're permitted. You understand that? So if it takes, you would judge it, 1, 2, 3 morsels, 1, 2, 3 sips, maybe. You can't then say, oh, now that I am allowed to have this dead chicken, let's get 5 of them and do barbecue. You know, can't do that. It's haram. You can't enjoy that food. You should be feeling sick about that. I'm going against Allah's command. It is permissible for me at this point, except that I would only have till I can confirm myself that I would live now. I'm not dying anymore. Enough food is gone in 2, 3, 4, 5, however much you think. Okay, not a lot. So that is the aad. Aad means to go beyond the boundaries. You're not transgressing the boundaries of Sharia. Fala isma alayh. So no sin upon him. No sin upon him. Indeed, Allah is Ghafoor, forgiving, Rahim, merciful. So Muqtar is the individual whose life is in danger. Ordinary pain and the need cannot qualify a person to be Muqtar. I've got a little headache. Can I have it? No, you can't. It has to be deep, deep trouble. So for a person whose hunger has driven him to a point beyond which he must either eat or die, there is an option. He can eat things made unlawful with certain conditions. Number 1, what are the injunctions? Consuming unlawful will not incur any sin if these conditions are fulfilled. Compelled by the hunger. He is so hungry. He's not looking towards enjoying his food, or just doing it to save his life. Likely to go beyond the level of his need. 3, 4, 5 morsels, whatever it is, you would judge. The minute you are full, not full, like, that I am not having hunger pangs that would cause my life, that would cost my life, then you stop. Realize the haram remains as such. Only the sin is lifted. You still consumed haram. The sin is lifted. Don't think, oh, it's now halal for me. And every so often I would just go and use that haram thing. 3 times a day, 5 times a day. No, only for that moment when you are about to die. So based on that, another issue, Tadawi bil Muharram, I already alluded to it. Tadawi means to do dawa, to do the cure, to seek the cure, medicine from a haram thing. It is permissible. Number 1, there should be a state of compulsion and a danger to losing your life. This injunction does not cover ordinary pain or sickness. The person is already afflicted with the disease. This is not as a precaution. Maybe I get COVID, so let me just have something haram. Now you can't. Maybe I would get cancer, so I'm just preventing myself. Prevention? No, not at all. You must be afflicted with that. So vaccine with haram ingredients, not at all. You shouldn't be going for that. Haram ingredient in the vaccine, go for alternative, which is halal. Something, even if you have to pay for, something you can get elsewhere. Maybe not as great as this one, but you can't have haram because you haven't got the disease yet. You're preventing something, which is not 100% that you would get it. What are you preventing is mawhum. Maybe, maybe not. So you can't get that. It has to be there. No alternative halal option is available. If you don't have it, you don't have it. You make yourself significant harm. But the cure is certain as well, or at least most probable. 9 out of 10, you would get the cure. Maybe 30%, 20%. No, not at all. You can't do that. And enjoying the use of medicine should not be the aim. Let's just have it. No, not at all. It should not be used any more than it is needed. Now that I've done it, out. Not extra dose, no extra doses. I leave it there, inshallah ta'ala. We will do the next ayat next week. So alcohol, there's a point of alcohol. There'll be separate detailed discussion on alcohol, but remember there is difference of opinion. What constitutes khamr? Quran mentioned the word khamr. What is najas in khamr? So in Hanafi school, the alcohol which is derived, extracted from grapes and dates is considered haram and najas. You can't consume even a drop of that. Other synthetic alcohol as we know is a chemical group. Yeah, it's a phenol group. It's not a thing. Alcohol is not a thing. It is a chemical found in certain things that we have around us. You can find in perfume, you can find in soap, you can find in different plastic material, whatever. There's so many different things have alcohol in it. So propyl alcohol, butyl alcohol, phenyl, methyl alcohol in spirit, ethyl alcohol. So ethyl alcohol and methyl alcohol tends to be, methyl is poison actually. Ethyl alcohol, which is ethanol, is the commonest one that people consume. But the source for that is grapes, dates, and something else. Anything that ferments can have, with certain bacteria fermenting it, get that phenol group attached to it. Aldehyde, ketone, those sort of chemical thingy, if you remember your chemistry. So synthetic alcohol in Hanafi school is not impure and it is not khamr. It is permissible. With two conditions. Number one, the quantity is not huge. It's minuscule or mild, very low. And it is not used to get high, to get inebriated, to get the intoxication. That's not the intention. Otherwise, it will be haram. So now you put those together, so you would know in this perfume, for example, that alcohol is number one, external use. So it's only if it's najas, then, or not yet najas, difference of opinion. Hanafis would say it is so minuscule and it is from the synthetic alcohol, and the intention is not to get intoxicated, because you cannot get intoxicated through your armpit sucking that back inside the body. It doesn't work like that. You can't get intoxicated even if you put a whole load of it. So no, so that's perfectly fine. Now, likewise in food, these chemicals are just put as preservative, mostly to extend the shelf life, to extend the life of that food so that it doesn't get stale or rotten earlier. As a preservative, it's a very good preservative. And also in certain things, like hand wash soaps, it is as a antibiotic, antibactericidal. It kills bacteria a lot. So it's useful for a reason as well. So as long as it's not, if it's consumed with those intentions, then haram. If it's not consumed for that, it should be okay. In Hanafi school, it is okay, provided it's not from dates and grapes, which is not going to be the case for most of the food items. So technically, alcohol, you don't need to worry about in the food because the quantity is very low and it is not the actual alcohol. And you're not having the intention, hopefully that's the case. And then they're having 20 ice creams, hoping that they will all gather together and give me a bit of hit. Obviously, then it's haram. The intention, Allah knows, in the mala'amalu bin niyat. But if you have alternative to be on caution side, the safe side, based on other fuqaha's opinion, I personally always avoid, despite being staunch Hanafi, as you know me. I do not take any of that. I avoid it all. Because I'm not desperate for any of those food which has it, because there's always alternative. And if none, so what? Give me one thing that you think is so important for your food, that if you didn't have it, you'll be regretting all your life. Or you'll be thrown in hellfire. Why worry about that special cake or special ice cream or special chocolate? So what? Throw it away. Sacrifice that for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be on the kosher side, and you'll be rewarded for that.
So if they by some of the restaurants they use that alcohol to put
So so if they put alcohol on the food, like some smoked fish or I don't know, some other fish, after they've cooked it, they add some for taste. That's haram. That is definitely haram. Whatever alcohol that is, never ever go there. Why? Because this is only for taste. What is the advantage of that? No advantage, just the taste. So you're actually consuming for it, but for it, not at all. Don't go for that. Even if it is considered okay by some, would never advise that. How could you do that when you see it's been poured in front of you and you say, oh, it's only little, I'm not going to get intoxicated? Not at all.
Is it from date and
grapes?
But more things come from hard and other things.
They're considered okay, but try to avoid it as much as possible. Don't go out for the ale and stuff like that. I never touch that. I don't advise anyone to go there. Why? What I actually go out of my way in this regard with regards to, there's certain thing, they say 0% alcohol or wine or whatever they do. I said, as long as there's a word which says that it is wine, I'm not interested. Even to the point that this glass made for alcohol, I wouldn't buy that glass. I wouldn't drink it, even water in that. Why? Because it's not about being very pedantic about that alcohol thing. It is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't like that alcohol world. Whether it's permissible, I consider it to be permissible. But why do I have to use that glass to, mimic or to resemble those people who are disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah is so unhappy with them, and I'm only trying to resemble them. Allah said, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Man tashabba bi qawmin fahuwa minhum." Whoever, imitates a people, he would be raised with them. What is the need for that? What do you want to prove? Even sitting with them, they're having alcohol and you are having in your normal glass Coca-Cola or something else. Hopefully you wouldn't do that even now, but any drink. Being in the same table, sharing that, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to be in that situation? Unless it's desperately needed or it's like dependent, your life is dependent on it, or you are in a situation where you couldn't stop it for whatever, and then you repent after, that's fine. But actively going and seeking out to be in a place where people bring alcohol, I would actually suggest to not even go to the restaurants and the places where they have on this table, this group of people are having alcohol, and you are on a different table with your hijab and niqab and everything and having halal food. Why do you have to be next to that individual in that place where they're disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Not to look down upon anyone, but to not be under the wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How could you be in the vicinity where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's anger is being showered and you want to gain something positive out of it? I mean, what is the need for that? As I said, not to look down upon those people. Inshallah ta'ala, they would have some, connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even if they're Muslim or non-Muslim. Many people do it. That's their problem. I should be concerned about my own akhirah, my own life hereafter, my connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't, comment on, criticize them, but think about your own akhirah. But you can just sneak out of that place. Be in a place where they don't serve alcohol. Is that clear?
Some countries also have this enzyme alcohol. I think it's
I've already said it. It's okay. So it's okay to consume, but if you could avoid that and you've got good alternative, why not? Jazakallah.